Hi there, me. So, we've got these essays from you. I'm very happy to see them. Why don't we get right into this to see what you had to say about these topics. Okay, the first one is a task 1. Let's see. The bar chart. Let's call it a bar chart, not a bar graph. We usually say line graph, bar chart. So the bar chart illustrates how many people had a pet in Wales, Canada, America, Ireland, Scotland, and England from 1990 to 1998. Overall, the total number of pet owners fluctuated. The highest number was in 1994 as opposed to the lowest in 1990. Scotland had the greatest number of people with a pet, whereas, no comma here, the country which had the smallest number was Ireland. Okay? When looking at pet owners in Scotland, Canada, and England, Scotland had approximately 200,000 people who owned a pet during the time given. Canada and the British, and the British who had a pet was similar in number at roughly 150,000 throughout the period. Let's see. There's something about this that's weird. So Canadians and Britons, you could have said Britons. So Canadians and Britons who had a pet were similar in number. That would have been much better. In terms of the number of pet owners in America, Wales, and Ireland, the figure for people who owned a pet. Well, why don't you use some pronouns here? Let's try it differently. In terms of the number of pet owners in America, Wales, and Ireland, the figures for people who owned a pet in the first two countries fluctuated. Or, you know what? Don't even mention Ireland, and let's do it like this. In terms of the number of pet owners in America and Wales, the figure for people who owned a pet fluctuated. Great, right? Clean and understandable. In America, around 100,000 people had a pet in 1990, 1995, and 1997, while about 180,000 had one. Actually, we don't even know that it's one pet. It could be many pets, right? I mean, just because you're one pet owner doesn't mean you have just one pet. You could have like 5. So you could say who had pets, etc., etc. Well, 180,000 were pet owners in 1992, 94, 98. Similarly, in 1990 and 1995, Wales accounted for a small number at just below 10,000, but in 93 and 97, they were just below 20,000. Ireland had the lowest number at slightly less than 10,000 during the entire period. Okay, this is actually pretty good. I've always found this to be a really difficult bar chart to do. You handled it quite nicely, and you pretty much picked up on all the points. Let me see. Okay, yeah, I mean, I actually liked how you did it. You didn't ignore the total number, which is important because most people do. Most people who do this either ignore the total number or they ignore the details of the individual countries. You did neither. You touched on both of them, so I'm really happy about that. I like the way you separated the countries. That was nice. So you put the ones that were similar in number together. That was a very good idea. And then again, you did the same thing here. So that was really good. You handled it nicely. So that shows a good organization of your ideas. Yeah, there was some awkwardness, but nothing too serious. So, it was a really nice task 1, actually, in one of the harder ones to do. So, good job with that. I want to now look at your task 2. Okay, this one is global marketing. Let's see. Some people advocate that global marketing has a negative impact on the country. Careful, you wrote county. So you want to be careful with mistakes like that. So country, whereas others argue that it is essential and contributes not only to proliferating opinions, language, and culture, but also to providing education which is less costly. This essay will discuss both sides of the contentious argument, and I will give my perspective. I have a better idea. Because this essay says, discuss both views and give your opinion, it wants to know your opinion. There's no question about it. So, do the reader a favor and don't save it to the end. Okay? Give it in the introduction. I hope that's clear. It's important, and I'll explain to you why. If you look at the band descriptors, you will see that in band 7 it says presents a clear opinion throughout the essay. Think about what the word throughout means. It means from the beginning to the end. And since the position that they have asked for is you to discuss both views and give your opinion, you should give your opinion in the beginning in an instance like this, okay? Don't keep it for the end. Don't like discuss everything first and then say, all right, well, now that I've told you, here's my opinion. No, because they've wanted to know your opinion from the get-go, all right? Now let's look at this a little more. Okay. On the one hand, it is considered that international business is incredibly invasive, which leads to the ruin of culture and lifestyle in the country. More specifically, the majority of people extensively expose themselves to ideas and cultures from foreign countries. As a result, they are likely to develop an interest and accept them. No, accept their... Let me try that again. They are likely to develop an interest and accept them unknowingly rather than protect their traditional culture. Okay, this was awkward. I have no idea what you're trying to say here. You can see that I stumbled over it. For example, in some Asian countries, an increasing number of young people abandon their traditional jobs, which have been passed from their parents, and instead study computer skills online to get a better job, not work. You could either say to get better work or to get a better job with a high income. It is obviously evident that international business is detrimental to the culture of the country. Let's see. Okay, I mean, you've supported it. It's fine. Yeah, it's fine. On the other hand, there are members of the public who argue that it is beneficial. The main what? The main argument for this? Probably. The main argument for this is that it gives an opportunity to receive high-quality education. There are some people who live in remote areas where there are few educational institutions. If they receive an online course, which is offered in a developed country, they would save time and money and gain advanced knowledge. For instance, in Japan, some young people receive a lecture which is offered by highly recognized professors in prestigious universities abroad, through which they have gained deep knowledge in their field in addition to learning culture and English. Their skills and knowledge which are obtained there are contributing to improving our society. Alrighty, so let's talk about now what the problem with this essay is before I get into your conclusion. It's global marketing. So let's talk a little bit about what that means. Actually, we won't talk about what it means. You will do that. You will look up on, I don't know, like Wikipedia or whatever other source you want to get an understanding of what global marketing is. You haven't talked about that. You've really talked more about globalization and about international trade. You've even talked about online education. But that's not what this is getting at when we use the expression international marketing. So I want you to do some work to figure out what the topic is really about, okay? So that's the problem here. It's an issue of task response. That's where you're missing out here. Let me think. The grammar is really good. So I was trying to see what's going on with your scores and why you're not doing better. For me, it's definitely task response in this particular essay, but I'd like to see more of your essays to tell you where you're having issues. The vocabulary is good. I mean, I would maybe like to see some more advanced collocations. It was good. But definitely it's task response here for me. All right, let's move on. In conclusion, undoubtedly there are the advantages and disadvantages of global marketing. However, on balance, I believe that the merits are greater than drawbacks, since it leads to thriving in society and improving the quality of our life. Okay, fine. Yeah, you usually get from 6 to 7, mostly 6.5. Well, yeah, you get a 6.5 because your task response is wrong. You didn't really answer the question. I can see that you're doing well in the other areas, like your coherence and cohesion is lovely. You're definitely getting a good score there. You're definitely getting a good score in grammar. It's certainly task response, which is keeping your score down, at least in this essay, but I very much like to see more of your essays to see what you do with other topics. And, I mean, the vocabulary was all accurate. There wasn't anything that made me say, wow. Okay, so there wasn't anything that made me say, oh, that's a nice expression. That shows some finesse with language. And it's nice to see that. especially if somebody's aiming for 7. So, I hope this has been helpful to you. I hope this explains to you a little bit about what's going on with your essays. I want to see more from you. I think you've got some really nice elements to your writing, really, really strong, but there's just something, there's some sort of disconnect which is keeping you from getting that much desired 7. I hope we can continue to work together so that we can help you kind of bridge that gap and get you to the 7. You probably know already that there are a number of options you can pursue. You can certainly decide which one is best for you, but I'd really like to see more of your writing so we can help you. All right, that's the end of this correction. I wish you lots and lots of luck in the future, and I hope I get to see more of your work soon.